Let's go! Not over.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Indie Comics Relay. I'm your host, Keith Gleason, creator of the Mighty Mascots and promoter for the Plastic City Comic-Con. With me, is always, Johnny C., creator of Sartana, Surrounded by Death, and The Pond for who, Johnny?
My good cousin, Roger Morocco.
Absolutely. And our third co-host, Harry G., graphic artist extraordinaire. What is going on, gents?
It seems like a long time since we've been here.
I know. I've been through 2 conventions since the last time we convened.
Yeah, actually, I definitely want to talk a little bit about Free Comic Book Day too with the guests.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. You guys had a
they
thing.
all did something, and then we could kind of chat and see what everybody did, and then we'll look at the chat and then go on with the show like we normally do. So let me bring in the guests first. I'm going to bring in
real quick, Keith.
Absolutely.
I'm on auxiliary through my cell phone because my camera for my system died as we were entering it. I know it wouldn't be that way otherwise. I was just going to say, just a heads up, I might log back in as on my system in the green room. So I'll shut down here and just let me back in then if that happens.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. Just,
All right.
Just a little behind the scenes magic we had to share with everybody.
Technical difficulties, right?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. So let's bring in tonight's guest. I'm going to start with a guy that's been on our show before, runs a show about himself, with a whole group of people. Mr. Sebastian Bonnet. What's up?
Good friend of mine too. What's up, guys?
And I forgot to mention the show is Nerds of the Round, which you should also sub to and check out.
Mm-hmm.
Please do. We nerd
available
out.
At every, available at, where you can find all fine podcasts, right, Sebastian?
Yeah. Absolutely. And me and
find
Sebastian
us on the side of a bus. You can find us in a cab somewhere. We're somewhere. No box.
Awesome.
You
Getting it
came in
out
like,
there however
you
you
came in like
can.
the Fonz, actually. Hey.
Yeah. I love that. And then our first timer for us on tonight, we were just talking to him for a few minutes backstage. Fellow G.I. Joe fan, an 80s cartoon guy, which I love. And I'm looking forward to getting to know him a little bit. His name is Ryan Drost. Is that how you say the last name, Ryan? Drost?
Drost, long O.
Drost, like
Yeah.
Colin Jost. Okay, gotcha.
Exactly.
What's going on, Ryan? Thanks
Not
for joining
much.
us.
I appreciate it. I thought Johnny C was like pulling something on me. I was like, wait a minute, that's not how he looked when I was just talking to him 2 seconds ago.
He's messing around with the filters, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I've been known.
Awesome.
We
Well,
had the good
I
swim,
figured
now we
the
got the
first thing I would love to talk about, like Free Comic Book Day was this past weekend, which was kind of like a unique one because it kind of coincided also with Star Wars Day.
Yeah.
You know, May the 4th be with you. Did you guys do anything special did you go to comic store? Did you set up as an artist? Did you guys do anything
Actually,
for Free
it
Comic Day?
was pretty interesting because I missed Free Comic Book Day the year before. So I decided to go to the comic shop in the mall over here in the Hamilton Mall. I'm over here in South Jersey. And they're called Level Up. And I didn't know that they've been doing a little mini con for the last 10 years. So I walked in there. There's a bunch of vendors right outside their store on the second floor. And I'm like, oh, it's a little mini con. So it's people turned up for that one. Usually the mall is empty, but it was packed.
Oh, that's awesome. So now you know where you got to go next year. You know,
Oh, yeah.
You're going to contact them about getting in there. That'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
I'm
you can
down
round
for
up the crew and do a show from there too, you know, something like
heck
that.
yeah,
Would be
I've
cool.
already been thinking about that, but like, Keith, Johnny, did you guys ready to come down? I mean, we're close to Atlantic City too, so
Dude,
go hit up
that'd
the
be
casinos
dope.
afterwards.
Yeah, that
would
might be
dope.
fun.
Sign me up for that. I'm ready for that trip.
That'd be awesome. Ryan, did you end up doing anything special for a Free Comic Book Day?
Oh yeah, mine turned out to be a really crazy day because I went to my local shop up in the Cleveland area. It's called Carol and John's, and they've been around for 30 years. Awesome shop. They do a nice like event type thing for Free Comic Book Day. They usually get about 2,000 to 3,000 people that show up.
Wow.
And
That's
so
amazing.
I went to them like a month ago and said, hey, do you think I could set up this year? And he's like, we're actually in a smaller space this year because he rents out like a place by the shop. And he's like, we're in a smaller space. I've had to turn down people that we usually have because of that. So he says, it wouldn't be fair for me to then bring you in. I was like, no, I understand, no problem. So I got up early because I knew how many people were in line, get in line there, and got up like the event started at 10. I got up, left the house at 7, got there like 7:30. There was already 40 people in line.
Wow. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And while I'm in line, a buddy of mine who I see every year at Free Comic Book Day, he comes over and we start talking and everything else. I look down at my phone like at 10 to 9 and I get a message from the comic shop owner because I've known him for years. And he's just like, hey, we had a cancellation. Would you want to set up?
Oh, sweet. Did you end up doing it?
So I ran to the shop and was like, hey, are you still looking for someone? Because he had sent the message like 20 minutes earlier. So I didn't know if he found someone or not.
That's like really cutting it close.
Yeah. And so I was like, here's the thing. I live like 25, 30 minutes away, so I'm going to get here. It's going to be like right at 10 o'clock. He goes, that's fine. Just do what you need to do. Thankfully, the week before I had done an event, and I still had all my stuff packed. So all I had to do was get home, get my stuff, and come back. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, to the point where I still had, like, how you get cash change from the bank and stuff like that, so that you have, like, ones and fives. I hadn't even redeposited that stuff yet, so I still had cash on me. And, like, came flying. I got back at, like, 10 to 10 and was, like, set up. And before I was completely set up, I had already sold 3 comics. By the end of the event, it was nonstop. By the end of the event, I sold 42 comics.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I sold at least one thing of everything I had on the table. I had buttons and bookmarks and prints and everything else.
Dude.
It was huge. And I had people that backed the Kickstarter because I had to sign up with the QR code for the Kickstarter. So it was
nice.
Way
to be prepared. That's
right.
Great.
Yeah, and some people came up that bought, because he always carries my comic in the shop there.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I bought issues 1 and 2, and I was like, well, here's the Kickstarter for issue 3. We'll have it out in November. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. So it was like, I texted my wife, who was awesome because she like put together a little checklist while I'm on my way home, make sure I didn't forget something. She's like, "Do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this?" And she texted me to see like how are things going, and I was like, "Let me put it to you this way: I have a chair here, and I have not had 5 minutes to even sit down in it."
Wow.
Fantastic.
Awesome. That's so great.
I gotta say that turnout is about the level I get for Plastic City Comic Con, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
so I know that level of people.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
So that's awesome
Yeah.
for a free comic book day. Wow.
Yeah.
Were all the books gone with within a half hour?
No, because they order a ton of them.
They order a ton. Okay.
And so here's the
perfect.
funny thing, though, too. Right before I left, they came over and showed me where my table would be, so I would know where to go.
Did you run over to the books
I
first?
said to the guy, I was like, "Hey, before I go, can I grab the comics I wanted to get?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, go ahead and take them." And
I did the same thing.
It's
I did
part of the
same
perks.
thing.
yeah, and they let people take 12 comics, which is really good.
Oh wow, that's really good.
But he comes up to me, he goes,
Whoa.
"You're a vendor helping
That's
us out."
impressive.
Yeah. He's like, "You're a vendor helping us out. If you want more than 12, go ahead and take them."
Nice. That's great. Well, I mean, I think there was about 12
Nice.
good
That's
books
awesome.
this year, so
Yeah.
that probably ended up working out pretty much in your favor. I set up too, like I work part-time at a comic store / video game store. The guy has 2 locations. It's called One Stop Shop. And so I set up in one of the locations, which was in their mall. And it was looking a little grim when we first set up. Like it was a nice day out. And I was like, shit, I wish it was raining. Cause then, the mall would be filled with people, but about an hour or two in though, it picked up and it ended up being a pretty good day. Like I was really happy with it. And I grabbed all the books I wanted, met a few cool people, sold some comics. My wife sold some prints. And so it was pretty good for us. And then Johnny, you were at Saratoga Comic Con for Free Comic Book Day, right? How was that?
Yeah, so it was a great show. It was actually record attendance. So we hit the maximum amount of people that have ever showed up for that show. Which was
Dude, I hope
insane.
this makes up for
It was just absolutely
last year's convention. Like we're really down. So this is a great sign. Hearing all these stories.
Well, the turnout was great, but like any other convention, there's always things that you find flaws in the system. So, for example, there was a reformat of the floor layout, not drastic, but enough to kind of change things, and in turn, it unveiled like unforeseen things, like line management, things of that nature. That kind of screwed things up, and that happens at the best shows have that problem.
Yeah,
so, but aside from that, little inconsistencies like that,
But besides that, it was
but
really
aside
good.
from like little things like that, growing pains. Yeah, aside from that, it was amazing. It was an amazing show. And I wasn't vending there because I'm the host. I'm just on the mic, so I couldn't speak to sales or things like that. But there are videos on my social media showing just how many people were there. It was just packed. Packed.
Yeah, your cousin sent me a bunch of pictures of like cosplayers and stuff. But whenever I get pictures from a show, the first thing I look at is the background to see how filled with people it is.
The background.
And the background was packed with people. I was like, holy crap.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Like it's making me
if you see any photos where it's empty, it was probably during the cosplay contest.
Gotcha. Yeah, because the whole place clears out right when that happens. Yeah, man, it's making me reconsider trying it again maybe next year or maybe the November show or something.
Well, we got the fall show. It's 2 times a year, so there's always the fall show. If one or the other.
We went up, didn't you have one in November one time, or is that? Am I thinking? Or am I forgetting? Or am I remembering?
Well, yeah, it's fall. Fallish.
Okay, fallish. Okay. How about Harry? Did you? I bet you didn't do shit for Free Comic Book.
Well, I was actually going to venture out and look into it, but a friend of mine did get me a Doctor Who comic book, free comic book.
Yeah, I saw that. I wish I had known about that. I would have gotten you that.
I got it. And but it's
Johnny,
also,
I did get you the Transformers book. I snagged one for you.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for picking that up for me.
Yeah, I figured you'd want that, and it's kind of a pivotal issue you need to get. So
Are the free comics usually like glossy print like that, like every page, or
okay.
are they like?
Sometimes, like it depends. Like sometimes the offerings are awful. Like like it's just like a 3-page preview of something that's happening, and then other times you'll get a full complete issue. It just depends on the publisher, you know.
In my opinion,
I went in Kanto.
in my opinion, I've been going to Free Comic Book Day for probably like the last 15 years. In my opinion, this was like the best amount of titles out there. Like as far as variety and like just to your point, having exclusive material, things like that. It was a good year for comics.
Yeah, I would say like the ones I've seen so far and read, the Gotcha Man Zero issue was really good.
That was good.
And I'm excited for that series. Yeah. And then the Energon Universe one shot was really good.
Was that the one with Megatron, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I picked that one up. I haven't read, I picked up the Ninja Turtles one.
Yeah, I got that one too. I haven't read it yet, but I got that one
yet either.
I love the little story with Splinter in that one.
I heard about that one.
Good.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like cute. Splinter's Day Off type of thing.
Yeah,
oh, that's great.
My wife loved it because she's a Ninja Turtles fan. She read it. She's like, "You got to read this one. This is cute." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah. And I've loved the IDW's run on Ninja Turtles. It's been fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some exciting stuff coming up with Turtles from IDW. Besides the Last Ronin stuff, this
Jason
coming Wednesday. Jason Aaron taking over the book is huge. And then this coming Wednesday, they're doing the was it Black, White, and Green?
Yes.
That first issue's coming out, and it's like a anthology of Turtle stories. Just using black and white and green, which is awesome. I think that's a great idea.
And they've been doing the Saturday Morning Adventures comics, and they're about to have a new one come out that's going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo Saturday Morning Adventures.
That's pretty awesome too. I love that. Yeah, those two properties always went hand in hand, you know, which is great. Yeah, I love that stuff too.
I just gotta give a shout out to Arelis. Hey, Arelis.
Yeah. Let's that's a good segue to let's take a look at the chat.
Sorry.
Let's check out the chat. Let's fire it out.
My wife is saying V, which is something that you.
No worries.
Harry, were you and her talking about this?
We're talking about only because during the break, during this very long week break we had, there's like a lot of things have happened, like birthdays and like TV series anniversaries. Like so, V was like it's the 41st anniversary of its premiere back in like. When was it, like 83 or something like that? So it's crazy.
That's crazy.
I remember, I must have been like 8 years old when that happened. And like the funniest scene we're talking about is like when like Don, I guess the name, Beastmaster sneaks into the into the mothership, into the air vents, and he sees like girls like getting dressed or undressed or whatever. And like he eventually gets to this one air vent window or whatever vent. And he sees this guy taking off his like his like eyes and stuff. No, before then though, the queen or whatever leader, like Diana. Yeah, she was like hungry. She had like a little like.
They were always eating like hamsters and
or like little mice or rats or stuff. But the hamster one, it was the funniest one ever. She ate like a mouse first. Okay, we get it. You're something different. Not you're not from around here. And then she goes for this like bigger gopher thing, and it's like Michael Jordan. It's like. Jordan slam dunking, it was like the CGI or the special effects back then was horrible, so her mouth, her jaw dislodges, and it's like
that picture was making the rounds that day. It was making the rounds.
It was something
sampling all of the the rats, the rat population,
But these lizards though were no match for Beastmaster. Who else? Freddy Krueger and Ironside. They picked the wrong planet.
Did you like? I like the update that they did like 10 years ago on ABC. It wasn't bad. Did you guys watch that?
I tried watching that, but you know what they are. It's like no big surprise. I was trying to I know
it got better. Like I remember, I think in the second season it was really starting to cook, and then it got canceled. Of course,
There's only like 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah. It just didn't catch on, but I liked it. I was heading in a good place,
Yeah, I thought it was good too, and I grew up watching the one from the 80s, and it always kills me. I know people say this all the time, but I always, anytime someone's like, "Oh, that was 40 years ago," I'm like, "The 1960s? What?" Like, I don't want to think that was the 1980s.
I
know,
It was.
Listen.
Yeah.
All good things
kills
came
me.
from the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
Very easy to get time locked. Yeah.
It kills me when people say you're born in the
It's
1900s.
easy to
I'm
get
like,
time locked
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yep. No, like we grew up with the best stuff. I always say that, you know.
For
Well, yeah,
Sure.
because they keep remaking everything. Like if you think about it, like everything from
Yeah.
the 80s, 90s. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. Like, you know,
Fall Guy is out now. You know, like Lee Majors makes an appearance, though. That's pretty good.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch. I wanted to see
That's
that
good.
this
I'm
weekend,
glad
but
that
I didn't get a chance.
Yeah.
Did you see it, Johnny?
No, I didn't. I didn't, but I'm glad to hear that Lee Majors shows up.
Yeah,
And they pay
it's-
tribute.
Had to. Had
when
to
when,
be.
when they redid MacGyver, actually the TV show MacGyver, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch a couple. So I watched a couple episodes. Then I went to a Comic-Con with Richard Dean Anderson. Was that? And I went to this panel, and somebody asked him, "Oh, you're watching the new show?" I was like, "No, it's trash. You know, like don't watch it. Like don't watch it." You know, I'm like, "All right, well, if he says don't watch it, I won't watch it." So I'll take his word for it.
You know which one's been really good as far as a remake is the new Quantum Leap.
I have not seen that, and I was a
It's-
big fan of the old one.
It's
Is that
really
still-
good, and it continues the story of the original, so they don't negate that ever happened.
Oh,
Actually,
really?
what they say is that Sam Beckett was lost in the time stream, and now this scientist is trying to figure out what he did and everything else. So, like, there's all ties to the original series. It's not just it's
Oh,
not a
interesting.
reboot at all. Yeah,
Did
I like those legacy sequels,
yeah,
as they
yeah,
call
when
it,
they
right?
do them right, yeah.
Honors it reboots it, but also
Yeah.
honors the past
Yeah.
in continuity. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. I'll have to give
that's
that
what
one
you
a
should-
shot then at
Yeah.
some point. Like I was a little worried that it wasn't going to be good, so I
Yeah.
kind of stayed away. But
Yeah,
hearing
no,
that,
the
it gives
the
me
acting
hope.
the acting's good. There's some really intense episodes, just like the original. Like I have fond memories of the original one. So,
I do
like,
too.
Yeah, so I was a little leery going into it, but no, it's actually really well done.
Oh,
That's
cool.
what I felt
All
about
right.
with Star Trek Discovery, because like it still gives love to a lot of the Star Trek lore before Kirk
Mm,
and before Picard, and it really took off on its own. Like it doesn't do anything to really what do you call mess with what was originally put out there. I think it added
Gotcha,
a
that's
lot
cool.
more to the lore, and you like with the movies. I know a lot of people are upset with the movies when those came out, the new movies, because they're like, oh, that didn't happen in Star Trek. I was like, they're trying some alternate universe stuff, but Discovery I think did a great job, and Picard did a great job continuing his story too. And I was just like, you know, how long can Patrick Stewart keep this up? And he's
I
keeping
know.
it up. He's going.
Yeah,
But
right.
First season though was pretty amazing. Though.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
out of all the
That guy's ready to do more.
And I will say, like, Discovery has me interested. I'm not a Star Trek guy. Like, I like the movies. I've always liked the movies and even the newer movies. I could never get into the show, and I think the reason why was because it was like it was so like soap opera-ish to me, where it was like, okay, there's two characters talking in this room, and then there's two characters talking in this room. There was like not really a whole lot of action or anything happening.
right.
I even had friends that are like huge Star Trek fans that knew stuff I liked, and they'd be like, well, here's episodes of stuff that work for you. And I tried watching, I'm like, doesn't work. But then I saw trailers for Discovery, and I'm like, okay, that looks really good. So
Yeah, and
maybe
you probably don't have like the that's where like a show like that really shines, is when
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about other continuity. Like,
Right.
you can just kind of go in and watch it fresh, which is
yeah,
a good thing, I think, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's another one I got to give a shot to at some point, you know? I just, I'm
Discovery.
so behind on Star Trek stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But moving on, let me see what else we got here. Amy said that's a great turnout, line of 40 people at the comic book store. I think that was about your story,
That's
Ryan,
impressive.
about
Yeah.
having the
Number.
Yeah, it was, and that was like I said, that was at like 7:30 in the morning. By the time
That's-
it actually opened up, it was like it was down the block and everything. It was
Wow.
ridiculous. And
That's
it didn't
awesome.
it didn't stop for like the first like 5 hours. It was just
That's-
constant stream coming in.
Where is this? Maybe me and Johnny gonna make it. A road trip.
It's in the Cleveland area. so,
Cleveland? Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Free comic book day.
Sounds
World
like we
Tour.
gotta make a cameo appearance in Cleveland.
Yeah, right. Put it on the con schedule.
Right.
And then
I was going to say, where you guys from? Because we're to have the game on now, the Bruins and the Florida, and it's tied 1-1. But I don't think anybody cares.
Yeah, no one cares. So
Ryan
Ryan said he's in Cleveland, and Sebastian, I think you're in New York.
I'm in South Jersey now.
South
Oh,
Jersey.
so you really don't care.
Was in New York, yeah. Somewhere in Jersey.
Yeah. My big game happened yesterday. The Cavs won their first round in the
cool.
playoffs. So yeah.
Congratulations.
We got no game. All New Jersey teams are New York teams. So
Right. Yeah.
Amy's saying she always liked Saratoga. It's just a little pricey for us because of the hotels. Time to start camping. Yeah. That was always our problem with that show, Donnie.
It is that area is pricey because it also hosts the racetrack, so people go up for the weekend for the racetrack. There's Skidmore, so if you're going during a college season, there's that. So there's a little bit you have to compete with in terms of staying in that area because there's a premium that comes with it.
I mean, there's a
you
solution.
can find outside of Saratoga for a little bit more cost effective.
There's a solution. I mean, you just rent a big white van and put a bed in the back. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, that might be cheaper actually than getting a hotel.
Put free comics on the side.
Speaking of that, in old TV shows, Janet from Three's Company turned 75, and on the original Quagmire, Larry is 80.
Wow.
What's his name? Richard Klein, his name? Yeah. He's
Yeah.
he's the original. He's the original Quagmire. I mean,
from Three's Company, right?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Wow.
He really was.
Wow.
He really.
Wow. Yeah, it's true. He was.
He was.
I
yeah.
love the Three's Company.
I know.
Oh
huge
yeah, I
fan
love
of
that show. Yeah.
Yeah. Growing up, that was
man.
a big deal
It's
for me.
probably in my top 10. I mean, I know I'm dating myself again, but
Maybe I should have been watching that as a kid. You don't know.
Yeah, right.
Mr. Furley.
I mean,
I just remember when I was a kid,
does that
though.
mean?
John Ritter was such a personality.
Oh
He
yeah.
was.
she was like an amazing physical comedian. I think he's underrated as a physical comedian. Like when he like trips and whatever. Like
Oh yeah.
that one drunk episode when he's wearing the lamp or the pottery.
Yeah, that's my favorite one. That's my favorite episode. But
I
like
forgot-
the thing I remember being a kid about it was like kind of like I remember my parents not wanting me to watch it because it was kind of like too adult. Did you guys have that too when you were younger?
I didn't. My parents were fine with me watching it. It's just my parents always had the talks afterwards to make sure I understood what I was watching and stuff like that. But you're talking about
that's how I learned about like what it meant to be gay was from that show.
Oh yeah.
I never had it explained to me, and I just kind of after you watch it a bunch, you kind of put two and two together. You know.
Yeah, well, and you're talking too about John Ritter's like physical comedy. It reminded me very much because I would watch reruns of old black and white shows, and it reminded me very much of Dick Van Dyke, where he was a very physical comedian,
and he's still going too.
In a very subtle way. But then John Ritter did this kind of
John Ritter was
feel
the best.
to it. Yeah,
it was the absolute best. Like I love that guy. He was one of my favorites of all time.
They put so in the last show that he was on with Katie Seagal. Someone had
Simple
put
Rules.
Together, that was great. Someone had put together a whole compilation video
of the Three's Company one. Yeah,
but it was just him and the cast there.
Right,
like how much that they loved each other, and how much of a joker he was, and how they just loved him, and just would just usually just try to break the cast to make them laugh and all that. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
There's only been like a handful of like celebrities that have died that I really had an emotional, I mean, almost teared up, So he's one of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Steve Irwin. Irwin when he died, I'm like, oh my god, because they're all like, those guys were like full of life. You know what I mean? They had so much more to offer, and like
big one for me was Robin Williams when he.
Robin Williams was a good one.
It just destroyed me when that happened.
Yeah,
yeah. There's certain like celebrities you get attached to, like whether you grow up on their shows or whatever. Yeah, definitely. John Ritter was one for me. Yeah. I agree. Stan Lee, of course.
It was Stan Lee, Chad, when he had passed. And again, someone mentioned him earlier was we said Steve Irwin, but was it Robin Williams? Because like with Robin Williams, it was just that for me, it was like seeing him in Flubber, Toy, seeing him in all these movies, and it's just like, wow, that's like a great big part. Jumanji, big part of.
And then he was an amazing dramatic actor with like the Poet Society and things like that. But I mean, I grew up with him, watching him on Mork and Mindy and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and doing stand up. Like my dad and I, our thing growing up was we would watch stand up comedians together, and I was watching people I probably shouldn't have been watching at the age I was watching them at.
Yep.
But like I grew up with like Richard Pryor and Robin Williams and George Carlin and like all of those. So
Yeah, George Carlin was another one too.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you guys know who Brian Regan is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That guy is like amazing though, because like he's like so like it's sure it's his jokes that he tells, but also his like mannerisms, when he gets
Yeah. The
his,
way
like,
he tells it.
I know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's so clean, like
Yeah.
never swears or anything. It's just like
No, he doesn't at all.
Yes.
I have to tell you my quick Stan Lee story because I got to meet him
I'd
one
love
time
to hear that.
by
Yeah.
accident. So my wife and I, for our 10-year anniversary, we went to London. So
Okay.
on the way there, we had to fly into Quebec, Canada, and then from Quebec, we were going to be flying to London. And there was some problem with our connecting flight and us getting on the plane and all this type of stuff. So they told us we had to go down to baggage claim. So we went down to baggage claim. We were trying to figure out everything going on there. And who happened to be walking right by me but Stan Lee with a couple people around him, like
Oh wow.
probably within like 5 feet of me. And,
Wow.
and he's
How
obviously
long
very
ago
red.
was this, Ryan?
This would have been, well, we've been married 22 years, so it would have been 12 years ago.
Okay.
And then so like he's walking by and I was just like, Stan? And he turned and I was just like, I just want to thank you for everything you ever done. I'm a huge comic book fan. And I shook his hand real quick and he's like, I can't stay, I gotta go. I was like, that's okay. And my wife turned to me and she's not into comics and stuff like that. And she turns to me and she goes, who was that? Was that someone you work with? And I was like, yeah, I wish.
Yeah, right.
So then I told her who it was, and she was just like, oh my God. And that was before like camera phones and stuff were really good. So we actually had like a camera, and she's like, oh my God, I wish I had known. I would have pulled the camera out and taken a picture with you. And
That would have been great.
Yeah. I was like, I knew it happened. So, but like of all the places, an airport near baggage claim in Quebec, Canada is when I met Stan Lee.
It's always
That's
the random
awesome,
places. It's always
Yeah.
fun with just the random places.
Yeah.
That's better than having to wait like 3
Yeah.
hours in line to meet him at a convention,
Right.
and just
Well-
to do exactly the same thing where you would just shake his
Right.
hand and say,
Right.
hey, I love your stuff. And,
Right. Yeah.
that's great. I got to meet him once too, but it was more like the cattle call thing where
Yeah.
where they bring you in with the photos and,
Yeah.
Right.
but we did talk to him even though we weren't supposed to, so.
Yeah.
I had a
was
picture
fun.
with
You
I had a
have to.
picture.
How can you not? Like,
Yeah, I know. It's like the only
It's never-
chance you're gonna get,
Right.
So
Hopefully
So
that's
for
not
me,
true about his final year or whatever, like elder abuse or whatever. Hopefully
Yeah.
none of that ever happened. That
Yeah, that's rough.
hopefully,
pretty
but
horrible.
who the heck knows,
yeah.
But
But,
all right, yeah. So let me see what else we got going on in the chat here tonight.
but he was part of our cartoon, like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Like he was like the narrator.
yeah.
Of all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
like-
yeah. He's just a
Well,
part
did
of
you
all-
hear? Did you hear that they got the license to digitize him to have him continue making cameo appearances in
Oh,
MCU
my gosh.
movies?
Oh, I can believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
family.
that's
They got the rights.
interesting.
So I think maybe the family might have signed that just for the fans because a lot of people are like, it was always fun seeing that
Mhm.
Stan Lee cameo
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a movie. Like, where's he going to appear now?
I love
And-
I love the theory that he was a watcher.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was great. Yeah,
There was a
That's
movie
really
that they
good.
had him sitting down,
Sitting next to a watcher, talking to him.
three watchers. Yeah.
that's fantastic. I would be for that. I think,
Yeah.
just to keep it going,
Yeah, why not?
And it kind of cements him as immortal, like,
And then do
that's
something
great.
where, because of that appearance, like they pay something towards a certain charity that he supported,
Yeah.
or something like that would be really cool. So
Yeah, that would be awesome, and it would help just keep the fun in the
Yeah.
movies and stuff,
Yeah,
the
for
comics,
sure.
and which he always brought, he was
Yeah.
always such a champion
Oh
of
my God,
comics.
yeah.
So I hope so. Hey all, that's
That's
is
Arelis.
it
Arelis.
Arelis?
Mhm.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. And we also got Martha. How do you say that? Demo from, I can't even pronounce that.
Delivered by Domino's.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah,
Pepper.
chowing on the hamsters. Yeah,
By the new Taco Bell rat tail.
yeah,
Mhm.
right. He was one of Robert Englund's
Yep.
first big roles. Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
like I said, like the aliens had were no match for Freddy Krueger.
Right. They tear off their human face,
Beastmaster.
and the lizard head's bigger than the.
You know
human
what? You know what else is
Yeah,
funny
that's
too? like when they tore off the skin and the face of these, like, their fake human skin, like their heads were much more bigger than their human heads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how
Yeah.
how did that lizard head fit in that human skin?
I know.
Like,
But we bought it. We bought it.
Yeah, we
believed
bought
it.
into it completely. This was a funny theory. I always wondered if the visitors might be related to the Slee Stack.
Oh yeah. Very
I
well
love
could
the
have been.
Slee Stack.
Oh yeah.
They were great. Let me see. Theory. She said, I love the old 70s and 80s sci-fi. Yeah, I think we all do.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and Amy said, ooh, deep fake Stan. This is why we never get anything new.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, if you've seen Rebel Moon, it's not a nice thing.
No,
Not a
no,
nice
no,
thing at all.
Right. Stuff like Blade Runner and Total Recall were so colorful and weird and escapist. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, with the eyes bulging out? Yeah, I should know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Amy said
Logan's
Marsha
Run,
Keith is
They
terrible
Live.
at names. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Listen, They Live has one of the best lines delivered by Rowdy Piper.
right.
Oh,
I have
okay.
mine autographed by him. So my DVD, They Live.
Nice.
So
Oh,
yeah.
nice. Yeah, I love that movie. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Horribly underrated when it came out, but now it's a cult classic.
Oh
but
yeah.
that's John Carpenter's entire career. Like
Right.
his movies
Yeah.
don't become cult classics until 10 years after
Well,
they're out.
It's like The
Yeah.
Thing. Like when I first got into comics, that's what my first book was really inspired by, was The Thing. And it was just like, The Thing, I told people it's a really great masterclass on talking about a character horror drama
Oh yeah.
without really deep diving into the look of the creature.
Right.
It plays on fear and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It has like
amazing,
that
yeah.
Hitchcock quality. Like
well, that
Yeah.
was Jaws. Like all that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
saw,
Jaws
you never saw a shark. It's like a fin every now and then.
It's just the music. The
Well, you're
music and the
talking
fin.
about
Right.
John Carpenter. One of my favorite vampire movies is John Carpenter's Vampires.
I
with
love that
with
movie.
James Woods.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So awesome.
so good. I love the whole idea of like this group working
Yeah.
for the church and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, that was great. Great stuff. I know they made a sequel, but I never saw it with John Bon Jovi.
I
was
saw
like,
it.
eh.
It's
Was it
not.
good?
I like it.
It's not great, but it's not bad. It's one of those ones like you can
Yeah.
watch it and enjoy it, but it's not. I do like I'm a Bon Jovi fan as far as his music, so I was like, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, so I actually enjoyed it because of that. So
Okay, that's good. So maybe
It's
I'll
not
check that one
not
out
great, but
sometime.
watchable. I think
Yeah.
is a fair statement.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
He also
Yeah, you
had a
always got to
video-
question it without when it doesn't have John Carpenter involved.
Right.
You know,
He
it's
also
like-
had a video game too that had came out with the
Did they really?
PlayStation 2.
Did
Yeah.
they?
Oh, I didn't
Okay.
know
Yeah,
that.
he had done a video game. It
Interesting.
was a first-person shooter. They were going into hell and all that, demons and everything. And, obviously, up John Carpenter's alley.
yeah.
It was a very interesting take on it because you got to flip between the characters. I was like, oh,
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 that's,
that's
cool.
cool.
Pants
Tortuga's with us.
James
Thanks for
Woods.
joining us. Vampires, the best. High pants, James Woods. That's great.
anything James Woods is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite movies is James Woods, and it's a very underrated movie. Is Digstown.
I love that movie.
That is
Great
fantastic movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That, and I love the one he did with Michael J. Fox with The Hard Way, where Michael J.
yeah,
Fox
yeah.
plays the
he's
actor that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
wanting to be a cop, and
Yep.
James Woods is like the
The actual cop.
kick-ass cop that wants nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
Great stuff. That was a great movie. But yeah, so we got through the comments, and so one thing Ryan, we always ask a new guest, and I'm going to do this right now since we got a little break here. We always I know you're a comic creator, you're a podcaster. What kind of got you into doing like comics? Like there's something you read, watched, or
So to give a really quick origin as far as even getting into comics, was my first comic was a Star Wars comic. So it was
Okay.
Return of the Jedi. If you remember back in the 80s, if you went to a toy store, they had the 3-packs, the comic 3-packs.
Yeah,
little
like the-
bag and everything. Yeah. So I don't remember what the other two issues that were in there were, but the one issue was Return of the Jedi, issue number 1, with the purple cover that had like Luke and Leia and Lando on it from the Jabba the Hutt scene, which is my favorite scene in all of Star Wars.
was it the adaptation of the movie?
The adaptation of the movie, yep.
Yeah.
And so that got me into comics. And then when I was old enough, I always tell this story, although it does not make me look intelligent. I would ride my bike up to LA Comics that was near my house, And in my mind, as a 11, 12-year-old kid, I was like, "Ooh, this is LA Comics. These are comics from the West Coast that I wouldn't get over here." And it was probably like the shop was probably like Larry Anderson's Comics or something.
Right,
like
right.
I like that's the narrative you set for yourself.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean?
But I picked up like that. So I was picking up like X-Men, and I was getting Midnight Suns titles, and Green Lantern's my favorite superhero. So like I was getting Green Lantern titles and stuff like that. Then fast forwarding years later, I was doing the podcast. I've been doing the podcast for 14 years. Probably going to be ending that soon in this coming year, just because 15 years. I'm trying to also do this comic. I also have a full-time job. Plus, I have a wife. Plus,
Something's gonna give, right?
I want to sleep sometimes.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
So, and all my listeners know that, and they're all just like, "Oh, we're gonna miss."
What
the
if
show.
you did like instead of giving it up completely? What if you went to a looser schedule?
So I'm on a pretty loose schedule already.
Oh, are you really? Okay, I was gonna say maybe they like if
I
you did a show every once a month or something.
I did have somebody ask me if I'd be okay if someone else took over, and I was like, yeah, if someone else wants to take over, that's fine. I was like, there are costs involved, just to let you know.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool if you could carry on the legacy.
Yeah, and I was like, and then I could just pop in every once in a while or something like that. So, but because of doing that, I interviewed a lot of comic creators, got to know them very well, and then started getting that bug in me of like, okay, maybe I would like to start telling my own stories. And looking back on it, I started realizing, like, with all my 80s toys, I was always a storyteller. Like, as I grew up on a main road, you couldn't go out and play in the streets with the neighborhood kids. You had to just play in your room or go play in the backyard, and that was it. So, like, I would have, like, the G.I. Joes creating the Autobots to fight the Decepticons and Cobra, and then out from the ruins came this huge castle, which is Castle Grayskull. So I was doing crossovers before they were around.
Yeah, it was great.
So, yeah, I just was always creating these stories and inventing things and everything else. And so just this plays into the comic creation. Stealth Hammer is my wife's real-life nickname.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the character came from. Not for any bad reasons.
Okay.
But we always joked to make a really cool superhero. So one day I had her drawn for a birthday present, drawn as a superhero. And you can actually see the original drawing on our website. And once I saw it physically, I was like, okay, maybe we actually have something here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started thinking of ideas and like, okay, the second I thought it, I related to, not that I'm putting myself on the same level as this person because he's a legend, but it was often said that Paul McCartney woke up one morning and had the song Yesterday in his head and he wrote it out in like 15 minutes. Like, that's kind of what it was like for me. As soon as I decided, okay, I'm going to write this story, it was like all these ideas just flooded my head, and I just started pulled my phone out and just started putting ideas. I'm standing in the middle of a shopping plaza in Florida, jotting down ideas for a comic book story.
Yeah, you can't choose when that inspiration strikes, you know?
Oh man, so many times where I've had to like literally pull myself out of scenarios just to jot down notes. You know what I mean? Like in the most awkwardest of times.
It happens.
Yeah, and yes, my wife is a total badass. No, she's awesome. So she. Can
you explain the nickname?
Yeah,
I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, most people are. Most people are.
I gotta know.
Yeah. So the short version is she's a graphic designer. She worked at an ad agency, and the boss put out like, "Hey, this client's looking for ideas. I'm submitting ideas. If anyone else does, they can also." She submitted one idea. The client chose hers over her boss's ideas. And so the next time that opportunity came up, he sent an email out and said, anyone want to submit ideas, go ahead, but watch out for Stealth. And so that became her nickname for a while, was Stealth, which is a pretty cool nickname in itself. Mm-hmm. She then worked at another place where she was in charge of brand compliance, which meant that she had to dictate, like, make sure you're using the right colors, the right font, things like that. So it was said that she was the one that had to lay the hammer down. And she's like, well, I already have a nickname. So she just put the two together and became Stealth Hammer.
That's better than Army Hammer.
That's awesome. Can you imagine how feared you are when you have a meeting set up at work and you have to have it with the Stealth Hammer?
Oh, man.
I want that kind of, like, I want people at work when they have to have a meeting with me. Like, oh, no, you don't want to have a meeting with him. He's a Stealth Hammer.
Right.
That is so,
and everyone knows awesome. That's her. Everyone knows that's her nickname. Like,
she's like the Punisher of The Office.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
She's like,
and the funniest thing is, if you saw her, she's like the sweetest, most wonderful.
I was waiting for it.
Person
There
in
you
the
go.
world. Yeah. Like, yeah. But I will also say she and you would not picture this seeing her. She also knows all the lyrics of "Gangsta's Paradise" by Coolio.
Oh,
So,
cool.
and she will sing it on command.
That's a stealth hammer move. If I
That's
ever
a
heard
keeper.
one.
Yeah, right.
Your
Yes.
wife is a keeper,
Yes,
Ryan.
yes.
Mhm.
That's awesome. No, that's really cool, Ryan. So when you were younger, though, did you ever like take classes in writing, or did you know you wanted to be a writer?
So I did take a lot of classes, especially in college, for writing, and because I started knowing that I wanted to do storytelling. I had, thankfully, which this is always awesome when this happens for anyone, but I had a teacher English teacher, who kind of recognized that I was good at writing,
Okay.
and she, we would have tests for books we would read and things like that, and she gave a choice of either multiple choice or writing an essay. I didn't get a choice. She told me, she's like, "You're writing an essay," and so she's like, "You're a good writer. I want you to continue writing," and so she just encouraged that, and it was really cool. And then I took that with me to college, and I started taking I studied psychology and got my degree in psychology, but I took enough writing classes in college. I probably could have minored in English writing. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And Sebastian, do you write and draw your comics as well, or? I know you do
I'm
the art.
writer. I am the writer, the artist, everything in the comic. I am the guy who beats himself up, so I'm always yelling at my writer. So that's just me and the mirror.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I feel like doing this comic and just sitting down, because I've had various conversations with you, Keith, and Johnny a lot in the past talking about this. It's given me a lot of respect for a lot of the work that goes into a comic, all the wheels that go in moving, from the writers to the artists to communication. And I want to give a big shout out to George Medina, because George does the letters, and George has his own comic out there, Wonder Duck, and he's been phenomenal as just supportive and everything, just showing him ideas and all that, and he just gets excited, and we're getting excited, and we're just trading ideas. And again, he's just been phenomenal as someone who's taken part lettering the stuff and all that, and he takes very good care in lettering, making sure that the art sticks out, which, if anybody like Johnny knows, what is it, what's his face from comic book school? Why can I not think of his name right now, who runs comic book school?
Buddy
Scalera. I don't know why the name was slipping for me.
Buddy Scalera,
yeah, I don't know why Buddy's name was slipping, but when he said at a convention was that he's like, look at the good letters, they're like unicorns, and George is a unicorn.
Yeah.
And he's like, I give him a big shout out, a lot of love.
And one of the things that I've learned from doing comics, and I've heard this from a lot of people, is if you want your comic to look professional, get a good letterer to work on it. It can make it can make or break the look of a comic.
It's 100% true.
Yep.
100% true. I'm a letterer, on the side, and I've seen some really bad comics that kind of unreadable. And hell, even some of the books, I don't know if any of you guys looked through when we were talking about Free Comic Book Day. There was a Popeye book that came out that was like a manga style. Did you look through that?
I like Popeye. Yeah.
The print size had to be 0.3 on some of those word balloons. I'm like, how do they expect people to read that?
And
this
because
is a professionally made book.
And it stinks because the art looked fantastic.
It does. I'm kind of I bought it. Well, I didn't bought it, but I grabbed it. And I'm like, am I going to pull out my magnifying glass and read this? Because it's the only way I would do it.
Eye strain trying to read it.
Yeah. It's you even see these mistakes in bigger companies, when they do stuff like that,
But it's also too, when you have beautiful art, you can have beautiful art in a comic, but if you have a bad letterer, they can ruin beautiful art.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, because it's so distracting 100%. That you're not looking at anything else.
I'm very grateful for the letter I ended up with Stealth Hammers. Our letterer is Dave Sharp, who is a legend in lettering. If you know lettering, you know Dave Sharp's name. He's worked on.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Every title you can imagine, from DC to Marvel to Image, he's worked on it at some point. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's great when you can get a guy like that's been in the industry for a while. I'm trying to get up to that, I'm moving there. I'm trying to get up to that ladder where I'm on the level as some of those
Keith,
guys.
you're already there, man. I trust you alone for all my letters.
Thanks,
look
man.
at any one of my books. You and Justin Birch did the majority of my letters, and you guys are two of the best.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I have a blast doing it. Like, I really like lettering, and I know it's like not as flashy as artwork or writing, but like I've
Man,
often
it's
said, like
critical.
it's like editing a movie. Like you're putting like the finishing touches on this
Yeah.
piece of artwork.
Well, there are many art forms too. Like lettering is an art form. I mean,
Yeah.
if you enjoy it, you know, you're really good at
I
it.
do.
You know?
I like making it like it helps make the artwork pop and the story pop if you can do it right, you know.
And if you're doing it right, it helps the reader flow through the story better too.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like the
lettering-
way you can guide them through a page is like it's powerful. You know,
Yeah,
it's great.
absolutely.
Love it.
The lettering for a comic book is like the score and the sound effects for a movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is integral a piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's one that you often don't notice, you
Right.
know, like, but it's essential. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If
And that's
you're
good
doing
lettering. You don't notice, like
I
you
was
don't
just gonna
notice
say
it.
that,
It just
yeah.
it feels like part of it. Yeah, yeah. You don't notice it. That's the key.
I'm not
there.
sure if I've ever asked this question before, but is there like this thing as like Braille comic books? You know, I mean, how do they do that with like, you know what I mean? Like, not to
I'm
get too
sure
deep
there
here.
is, but
Not
I
to
don't know.
not to get too deep.
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
you
I
know
don't
what
know if
mean?
you could get the
I
Bubba
really-
Boom in there or the
I know, like
the snicked.
Isn't it?
maybe like
As I'm
I
saying,
don't
is it
know.
in poor taste to ask for Daredevil and Braille?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like,
He doesn't need it. He would just feel the ink on it.
Yeah, you just feel the ink. You like, oh.
Lots of good comments coming in about lettering, which is awesome here. So let me see.
I've actually had an idea of doing like T-shirts for women, like when like the front of the shirt, like in Braille. But anyway,
And they have to feel it.
yeah,
Feel your chest.
That
I
would
wonder-
go over well in the 80s.
If you're
not
feeling
now.
this, you're too close.
right. I remember one year there's like a festival like in downtown Lowell, Massachusetts, where we live, kind of. And I went to the Lowell Folk Fest one year, and this girl walks up to me at this like bar called the Old Court. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And she's like, "Hey, Harry, how's it going?" I'm like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" I was like, "Do I know you?" It's like, I'm like, "How do things?" It's like, "Yeah, we met here actually a year ago at the Old Court at the same event." I'm like, "Oh, so I didn't remember her." I'm like, "So how did things end up? You know, where do we leave off?" So it's like, "Well, I called you the biggest a-hole I've ever met in my life." I'm like, "Why did you?" Why? She's like, "You kept looking at my chest the whole time and not my face." I'm like, "Can I ask you a question? Were you wearing like a graphic T-shirt or something?" It's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, don't do that."
That's what I was looking at.
I'm like,
Let me tell you what I do.
Right, exactly. I actually make T-shirts. I like,
You're judging how bad the graphic is on that T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You're
Right.
secretly
Right.
judging her
It's a little
based on what
lopsided.
she's wearing,
right,
yeah.
Like, I'm judging you on your shirt, miss.
right.
Tony James is with us tonight. Good evening,
Tony.
fellas. What's up, Tony?
Tony James.
He also says good lettering is like having good sound in a movie. Yeah. Definitely.
Yep.
Let's see. Bad lettering in a book with good art is like having a delicious cake that's frosted with shit.
Sounds like an incident's cake.
BMD nerd, what's up? Thanks for joining us. A good letterer can be unnoticed, but a bad one is remembered. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
Daredevil
that's
is
for sure.
Braille. Daredevil and Braille is like a coffee table book about coffee tables.
Like Kramer had a good
Kramer, yeah.
Right.
It's got the little legs. It turns
Right.
into a coffee table.
It's genius. That's awesome. No, but yeah, no, I agree with you guys that's it's essential for comics,
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you like? I know Ryan, you have the Kickstarter, and Sebastian, what else have you been working on lately? Like,
So, Concrete Combat's been in work and for a while.
now this is your comic series.
Yeah, so right now this is the first book in print. I had the honor of getting the first issue
Okay.
in Wayward Ravens We Suck at Comics first anthology.
Oh, shout out to those
that was
guys. 'Cause
fun.
Johnny
Oh, yeah.
was in there too, I think, right?
That was a
Yep,
fun book,
yep,
about
sure
300
was.
pages of craziness.
Oh, wow.
Loved all the stories. And it's just right now, issue 1 and 2 is
Somewhere
available
on here.
digital, so I've been pushing the Patreon page. I think I have it, Johnny. I think I have another side.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's buried on my shelf somewhere. The problem is I
There we
started
go.
putting action figures in front of the books.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
now
We
I'm
suck
like,
at comics,
that's
Nice.
buried.
Nice.
and
Yeah,
look how thick
beautiful.
that bad boy
yeah.
is. What I did too, because
Yeah,
with
it's a
the
nice
shout
book.
out and everything, what I did for Wayward for letting me be in the book and all that is that well, first thing I did for George too was I put his ad in the book, just for
Sweet.
being letter and all that for
Yeah.
the book and all that, to give a shout out for him and
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing for Wayward, so this way people can also go get the anthology too, which they're coming out with the second anthology. Hopefully soon. I know they're talking about launching that soon. But yeah, Concrete Combat first started releasing on my Patreon. I started releasing the first issue in like chapters.
Yeah.
On Patreon for all those who subscribe, and then finally put it all together into one first issue. The book one's going to be 4 issues cut together with the prologue that I did, which is the series called Dungeon Runners, which is going to be in this book and in Wayward River's second anthology series as well. So it's just been a labor of love, and it started as a poster actually.
Did it really? That's
yeah.
What's like the basic premise for the book, like, and then let us know how
Yeah,
the
yeah.
poster worked into it.
So Concrete Combat is a story that takes place in a cyberpunk type of universe. So it follows this character named Micah Gordon and a couple of other characters going through their destiny. Like, pretty much, is he going to take on his family destiny or be crushed by it, as you see him progress through with all these other side characters that get introduced. You get introduced to the second protagonist, Beatrice, in the second issue.
Gotcha.
First issue is just pretty much really more of Micah's origin of how the things end up for him. And it's just, again, the cyberpunk fantasy world. I took a little bit of my love for D&D, put it in there with the different fantasy races and all that in there too. So I was like, I don't have to be stuck with one race. I can have all these races and tackle a lot of topics that I want to tackle with these characters and all that, and just open up this whole brand new world. And it just started opening up into this bigger sandbox, which then I introduced called another story called Dungeon Runners, which is a prequel story, which I'll say it on air here. It actually follows one of the main antagonists, who you get introduced to her in that story, and she makes this little small appearance in Concrete Combat as one of the little background cameo characters. So I'm already.
I like when people do that, like when you have like this other thing that's like connected but very loosely, I like that.
Yeah, when I send George Dungeon Runners,
I love
text me. Go ahead, Johnny.
I was just gonna say, I got to preview the book. You sent us a copy, and
right.
I just love the inspirations that you're pulling from. I'm looking at it, and I see some characters that remind me of Luke Cage. I see stuff from Mortal Kombat. I see like wrestling and arena based stuff. I see like cyberpunk future elements, like Escape from New York almost in some ways. It was just cool that you took all. It feels like an homage to all the stuff that we grew up that we loved in one book, you know?
Yeah.
That's really what it was. Like, my love for wrestling. I have a little bit of love for basketball, but then I was like, what was one of the things I liked? The bigger than life characters that you see in wrestling. I like a lot of the anime and fighting game looks for characters. And I was just like, how can I do this? Well, I'll throw some characters in there to make the world look bigger, that they're just like, they're not really major players, but it's like, how when you see in sports, they have like all these stuff that they're talking about, people where they put like the sports desk in there, where you just have this background of characters while the sports sports announcers are talking about what's coming up and everything. So like in this scene right here, I mean, if this scene was fun to put together.
I also
nice.
I put in
I liked how the future was run by corporations, that kind of thing. Like the way OCP, RoboCop, Tekken. I got such a Tekken vibe off of some of the pages in the book. I was like, oh, this is straight out of Tekken.
Actually, I don't know why, but I got a Space Jam vibe. I don't know why.
I can see that. I can see Space Jam out of that.
Because there was one sport or one thing that people were all watching or doing. So what exactly is Concrete Combat? Is it like what happens?
So it's a sport that pretty much has a little bit of elements of basketball mixed with MMA. In issue 4, really going to lay out the rules. So what it is in this world, obviously, how Johnny mentioned, is like it's ran by corporations. So you have these corporations that run everything in Citadel Utopia. That's the name of the city. You have all these other cities that are around, but we're taking place in Citadel Utopia. So Concrete Combat is a way for people of any type of class to try to go out there and make a name for themselves. So they're kind of like warriors who are battling it out and everything. So you kind of see that in the first book with this whole big battle that's going on the field. So it's not just about, okay, I got to get the basketball and make the score, but I got to make the score and not get beat up by, who's looking to take me out. So we get into the point system later, but in this first issue, you see how the sport kind of affected this one character who you follow. So I just took this whole element as this warriors battling it out. Okay, I'm a kid that's living in the slums. How do I make my name? I'm going to go out there in the sport, make my money. Or how do you treat people who are legacy players? Hey, you meet a character in issue 3 where she's a legacy player. She's a sister of one of the big players who, Johnny, you'll like this. I kind of mixed them up with Brock Lesnar and The Rock. So,
Nice.
so I have fun with the characters. And again, I just wanted to create an overall fun book. But also I wanted to do little things I created different religions where it's again, you have the humanists out there who just you see these different races of beast people, robots and everything. I have a cybernetic religion that you get introduced to in issue 3. And just where in issue 2 where we start off with the main character Micah, how that opened up with. In issue 3, I kind of flip it too, where you get to meet another character who it's a different contrast with how this character views things versus how Micah views things from what's happened to him. So they all get together in the story, and you start to see why each individual is in this sport. Some are in it for the fame, some are in it for the money, others are in it because I have no choice. I'm owned by a company, and they're telling me, well, you gotta play. I own you right now, so you're in this sport. I need a player on this team.
Much like actual sports where, teams seem like they own players sometimes more quite literally,
Yeah, Speaking of wrestling, though, I heard that Jerry Lawler is no longer with WWE. He just left before.
Really?
I just read that before we came on.
Oh, wow.
Real quick.
Oh, really?
Nice.
I wonder what that's all about.
Breaking news. Sorry.
that reeks of scandal without me knowing anything about it.
Yep.
Tony said, We Suck at Comics is one of my favorite anthologies. Genius idea for an anthology. I got to agree with that. What
it really
great
is.
Name.
Yeah.
Great idea for an anthology, the name strikes you instantly and you're like, oh yeah, I got to check this out,
It's one of those names, I mentioned this recently to a friend of mine, and I said there's certain titles where you have to pick it up just based on the name. That's how I ended up reading Southern Bastards, was because I have to try this. Look at the name.
Or Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah.
I mean, what an enticing title,
Right.
I got to have fun.
Just thinking Something is Killing the Children, and
right. I mean, that's a title you remember, But anyways, I'm sorry. What were you saying, Sebastian?
No, I got to work on the We Suck at Comics and anthology Kickstarter video. That was fun.
That's
nice.
Cool.
Editing
Love
Mark.
those guys.
Oh yeah, I got fun. It was fun getting to edit Mark, Alex, and Mark as a sock puppet.
Nice. I wish I had more time to be part of that anthology. I barely have time to make my own comics, never mind making something for a group thing. One of these days I might try, but something's going to give, just like Ryan was saying earlier, you're being pulled in a million directions, and it's the time is not there for me,
Both times I was lucky to just kind of have stuff ready to go. You know what I mean? I was sitting on a lot of unpublished work. I'm still sitting on a lot of unpublished work. So I was really lucky that I found, opportunities, and specifically through We Suck at Comics and the Cthulhu stuff where I had, I could just put it out,
Yeah, that's great. I don't know. I've also been thinking about doing my own anthology, and getting people to get involved in that, but we'll see whenever that shows up.
It's such an ambitious undertaking to manage a book like that. Somewhere deep in my heart, I'd like to do an anthology of a specific topic, but I'm intimidated by the workload.
Yeah.
Well, it was the anthology that came out with Comic Book School Panel 1 and Panel 2. Everything that went from Panel 2, I got to work with Ari on his book, and it sucked because one of the artists did have to bow out due to personal reasons, and it's okay, we need, and I'm hoping Ari's all right, I'll take the extra page to help you out. I had the honor of getting to do the Rob Liefeld page, so.
Nice. No, and I would say that for any indie creator out there, anthologies are a great thing to be involved with, and just starting to meet people, getting involved in the comic community. It's invaluable, I think,
And it's fun when you get the physical book and all that in the hands. It's like, we all got together and we did this. This is
right.
Oh,
there's a sense of accomplishment there for everybody.
So even just like, let's just take a step back and look at being an anthology as like a resume item, because think about all the things that checks off.
Oh yeah.
As a creator, right? As because think about it, you can work with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can write in the short form. And if you're good enough to be in an anthology, there's a certain quality check that was already run on you anyway, right? So there's a lot of things that check off. If you see somebody who's been in an anthology, like that kind of gives it a little bit more credit, I'd say.
Yeah,
I'd
agree with that.
I agree with that. Tony's basically saying what I said, where he's like, it's tough to make time to write for anthologies when you have your own comics to write. Would still love to be a part of one, though. Yeah,
I mean,
feel the same way.
So the funny story is that Dungeon Runners, the prequel, originally did that again for the anthology for We Suck at Comics #2, and that's how that spun off. I thought, this will be fun because it'll be like a little continuation from the second one, and just give people a little bit of a treat with the character who can technically be who's been in both books now. So that's how that really started. So it's just like, just do it. It was just like quick fun, had fun with it, and pretty much laughed about it, especially when George was lettering it. He was just like, yo, this is crazy. I love it.
Yeah, one thing I speaking of George that I want to and seeing Free Comic Book Day this weekend, I think he's got a case for a lawsuit with that book that came out called Ultra Duck. Did you guys see that one?
I saw that one,
yeah. There's a book that came out called Ultra Duck, and I'm like, oh shit, this looks exactly like Wonder Duck.
Yeah,
I don't know if George saw it, but I got a message.
He needs to sue the pants off them.
Yeah,
sue the pants off them, George.
Go after George if you're watching. Go check out Ultra Duck. Yeah. It was one of the Free Comic Book days.
I saw because I knew Wonder Duck because I had backed it in the past and got it and everything. So when you mentioned Wonder Duck, Sebastian, I was like, oh, I know that one. And when I saw Ultra Duck, I was like, oh, this must be that. And I was like, no, wait, it's not. It's not the same thing.
Right? I think George has a case like there.
Similar stories? Is that what's?
Well, the character looks very similar. Let me see if I can find a picture of it.
Can we do a side by side on this one?
Yeah, you want to? Keep talking, and
I'd love to. Yeah. So here's the thing about that too, is that you also have to think it's like anybody can make anything, right?
Sure.
Even Marvel and DC, they have characters that are like parallel to each other, that are kind of like, oh, this is the DC counterpart for this Marvel character, and vice versa. So who's to say that can't happen in indie comics? But I also like to examine a little bit further. I mean, who's to say that somebody didn't see that, go, oh, this is interesting,
or maybe
try to.
I mean,
off George's idea.
Go back to Greek and Norse mythology. I mean, that's how far back that goes, as far as taking the same ideas.
Right.
It could be it could be also subconscious.
It depends on how close of an idea.
Yeah,
you got to look at the origin.
Harry, didn't mean to.
No, you got to look at like how. So here's Wonder Duck. This is George's book, and then
look at that
Ultra Duck. This was the Free Comic Book day.
Yeah, they're pretty close,
right?
You gotta look at definitely
sketchy AF. Who put this out?
You gotta definitely look at the origin story, because if the origin story definitely mimics Wonder Duck, you definitely got.
Yeah, if they both came from eggs, then something's up.
Right.
Well, I picked up Ultra Duck on my Free Comic Book Day, but I did not read it yet. So, and I have read Wonder Duck, so I'll be able to.
We need to do an unsolved mysteries analysis, like a deep unsolved mysteries analysis.
Where is Robert
laying out all the facts between the two books and seeing the parallel. See
absolutely.
If George has a case on his hands.
See if George knows this guy from somewhere, or
What I was going to say is together. Maybe sometimes people read something, and subconsciously they think they're making up their own, on their own, but they're remembering something. They're like some regressed thought, or memory.
And that's the excuse they'll use in the court case.
Right,
Well,
right.
I learned from a good friend from mine, those like very creative individuals sometimes are pulling from the same thought pool, and we may not realize
Right.
it. Where
Yeah.
the ideas may seem very similar. I mean, it's just like how people talk about Fern Gully and Avatar.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
that's true. And Ryan,
Well,
could you give us like a quick elevator pitch for
Yeah.
your book, Stealth Hammer?
Yeah, so Stealth Hammer, it's an all-ages superhero adventure that takes
I
place in a
like
world
that.
of high-tech gadgetry and supernatural mythology. So I relate it to like Stargirl or Miss Marvel in a world of Mega Man meets Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
Oh, cool. I like all those things. Yeah.
So
that's
are you
great.
also in this comic too? Because your wife is
So a little
Hammer.
bit, yeah, a little
Right.
bit. I'm kind of the boyfriend Kyle looks a little bit like me. So
okay. Right.
It's okay. You can read yourself into the work. It's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things too, like because I hate like self-insert characters. I just don't like it at all. But I do think like especially, and I'm sure you guys can all agree, like you do pull inspiration from actual people you know though.
Right.
And so like
course.
Yeah.
so like the main, even though the main character is based on my wife, she's a bit different from my wife. Like she's just inspired by my wife. And same thing with
Right.
you know Kyle the boyfriend. He's inspired by me because I was like I can write me. You know like
And is there a very there a short person in your life that's after Ari the elf? Or-
Ari the Elf. So Ari the Elf is like my Yoda type character.
Okay.
And where he came from was my wife and I got to do a trip to Iceland one year, and while we were there, I got this little guy right here, little plushie,
cool.
and they have a belief in
cool.
elves. In Iceland, and so I found him in a shop, and I was like, "This is gonna be a character. Like this is gonna be my little sidekick type character," and he is a lot of fun to write, by the way, because he's snarky and just like, and he has much like Yoda, he has his own way of speaking and everything. So
I love the artwork though; it's amazing, illustrative, and, and the colors are pretty amazing too. Very vibrant, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
cool.
my artist is Joel Jackson. He's down in Columbus. So he's only a couple hours away from me. The colorist, I've gone through 3 different colorists with each, or 4 different colorists with each issue. It's just because colorists, they get bogged down with a lot of work. So then when the next project comes, it's like, sorry, I don't have the time. So I found somebody else. The colors for issue 3, and all the colors have kept the same, like that bright color, that vibrant color going.
Yeah.
The colors for issue 3 is her name's Heather Breckel, and she's worked on like My Little Pony and
cool.
Rise of
Was
the
she,
TMNT.
was she in that group that you just passed,
Oh,
Keith?
cool.
If you go,
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So she's the one on the far right top corner there.
Oh, okay.
Right here.
So yeah, and my wife is the one that's right next to me in the picture there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Joel is our artist is the one right in between us there, and then Dave Sharp's the rocker there. That's my letterer. Chris Uminga.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, I know Chris. Yeah,
Yeah,
This
Chris
is awesome.
Uminga did
Up
my
from our neck of the woods. I don't
Yeah.
know him. I've never had a conversation with him, but
He's a nice
I
guy.
do
He's
see
a
him at-
really nice
super
guy.
nice guy.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
right here. Like I see him at a bunch of shows. I just
Yep.
never have. We've never crossed paths, I guess.
So
you know?
his wife, Chrissy Zulo, did.
Oh,
the-
another awesome artist too.
Yeah,
she's
she,
great.
She did the variant cover for issue 2. I'll show that right here.
Oh yeah, hang on. Let me.
Oh wow, look at that.
So
Yeah, she's great art. She's
Yeah.
starting
Awesome.
to get work with DC and Marvel
Yes.
and stuff.
So
True
I
story.
got her right before she went with DC and Marvel.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So true story. One of my buddies, Bun, I believe he got a commission done by Chrissy, and you could see the way she put with the colors and all that.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. This
Yeah.
wow.
So this is the alternate cover that Chris Uminga did. And,
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's great.
And then Brian Shearer did our back cover, which is this one. I always have another artistic rendition of the characters on the back cover. So I try to fit as much as I can in an issue for people.
Oh, that's great, man.
So yeah.
I like that too. Like I never think to do that, but yeah, that is fun to like do a back cover too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So one of the things also is Joel Jackson is my artist, and he does. If you pause right there on the if you scroll up a little bit, or
This
go
one
back,
right here?
yeah, that one right there. So this is one of our
Wow, look
special
at that piece.
one of our special rewards. So Joel is kind of like George Perez, where he fits a lot into a page, but you can make sense of all of it. And I gave him a challenge, and I said, "Here's what you can do." I was like, I want all the heroes on one side, all the villains on the other side, and what I want is I want the Rocky 3 ending where you have Apollo Creed and Rocky are just about to throw and hit each other, and it freeze frames. That's what I want. I want all of them about to go into battle, and then they just freeze frame right there. And he fit so much into this thing. There's gonna be
it's incredible,
yeah, it's gonna be fully colored, so it's not colored yet, but it'll be fully colored. It's gonna be a limited print run of 50 of them. They're gonna be numbered. They're gonna be signed by me and Joel. It's gonna be 11 by 17, so it's gonna be nice and big.
Yeah, that's great.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice. That's awesome.
yeah.
That's a great. So that's part. Is that like a? Is that a perk by itself, or is that a stretch goal?
It's a reward. It's a reward tier by itself.
Okay.
And
Keith, can you make it big?
Yeah, let me see.
Open image, new tab, maybe.
Or do a Control Plus.
Yeah, it looks so detailed and beautiful to not feature it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at that thing.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that thing. That's gorgeous.
Yeah,
there's so much going on there.
Yeah, and I went to my colors. So I was like, I will pay you extra to color this. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's gonna be like
your colors like opens it up. They're like
a week worth of pages. That's great.
So
this looks awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Really
so
cool.
yeah, and so one thing cool that he did this time too. So issues 1 and 2, he's a digital artist, so he draws digitally and everything else. But issue 3 is a flashback story that kind of talks about how Ari the elf got to where we see him in the story. And so he decided, since it's a flashback story, he wanted to give it a little bit different look. So for the first time ever for Stealth Hammer, he drew everything by hand, and there's actually original artwork for this one.
That's cool.
So
cool.
He figured it would give it a little bit different look by actually being drawn on a page. So
that is the one downfall of drawing digitally. Like, you don't have an original,
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you do shows, I think it's absolutely worth doing,
Yeah.
I
like
like
that
the
page.
colors a lot too.
Yeah,
It's like
that
a
page.
cartoon and
Yeah.
and I'm big, obviously my book too, Mighty Mascots, is all ages. So
Yeah.
I'm big on the all ages stuff. So I love this.
And I'm doing an all ages story, like the all ages stories I grew up with. Like I grew up with like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth.
Yeah, right. You're not
and things
doing
like
the crappy YA stuff that they
Right.
release now. That's like not even fit for a 2-year-old.
Yeah, there's a character, because I do pull from a lot of world mythologies and everything else, and like one of the characters I use is this character Marzana, and she appears in the first issue, and she's the Polish deity of death, and we had her drawn, and I showed it to my wife, and she's like, I thought you're doing all ages comic. I was like, you can do all ages and still have a character look creepy. It's okay.
Yeah, well, like and like I've always said too, like back when we were reading comics, even in the 80s, like Spider-Man, that was all ages, but people would die.
Yeah.
There was like serious stuff going on, but
you
it was
just
still
can't
made
do blood
for
and
it.
guts and swearing, and you just avoid that type of stuff. But
it's how you
dark.
present it.
Yeah.
Like even like I got the same criticism. Like one of my covers for Mighty Mascot 7 shows a mascot dead on the ground, but I told the artist no blood.
Yeah.
Make sure there's an X in its eyes.
Yeah,
like stuff like that, where you can kind of
totally.
like you have somebody that's dead, but it's like it's not like you
can soften the blow.
Yeah, you're not focusing on
Yeah.
the horror stuff. Like my guiding compass on all ages stuff has always been like Batman the animated series.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
I think that's a perfect template for all ages.
Yeah.
One thing I like to point to is in terms of like beating the system is Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever she dispatch a vampire, the way they got through her stabbing somebody in the chest on live TV was that they would go poof in a cloud of sand. Right. And then that kind of just makes it okay.
And that's like in that big you'd have to really be able to zoom in, and you can't, but on that big scene I have these characters, they're called Tokolosh. They're like a gremlin type character from African mythology, and what I did was they have like these little cybernetic gadgets that are adapted onto them and everything else. To eliminate them, they're created by dark magic. To eliminate them, they just require a big, like a powerful hit. So when you hit them, they just poof into that dark magic again. Like they just disappear. Mm-hmm. So you can have punching and hitting and all that type of stuff. It's just how you show it is what makes it.
How you do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right,
Amy's
right.
talking about Watership Down, but I feel like that's a
Oh
little
my
more-
God.
that's like trauma, you know,
It
like that's
is.
nightmare fuel. For
That's the
a
trauma
little
starter kit. That's like
Yeah.
Artax the horse, Optimus Prime
There you go.
dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff. I wouldn't
Well,
give it up for a second, though. I love that we
no.
grew up
The
with that stuff.
one along the lines of Watership Down is that was it was a kids movie that I loved, but it's dark. Is Secret of Nim.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
That's
That and also G.I. Joe the movie when Duke took
oh
that.
yeah,
yeah, right. Like all
Yeah.
those movies.
Duke
Yeah.
was supposed to die,
He was
but then
supposed
the
to die.
fallout of Optimus, like they're like, no,
Yeah, we
we're not
can't do
we're
it.
not gonna
Yeah.
go
So then
through
they
that
did
again.
that. Then they did that voiceover at the end, like Duke survived. He's just in a coma.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, they're like, Duke came out of the coma.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
okay.
And the one that always traumatized me, and I wonder if this was with you guys too, since we're on this subject, the robot woman in Superman 3 was
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
That part when she gets sucked into the computer and then the computer starts turning her
Yep.
into a robot.
What happened to her after?
Freaked me out as a kid. Like,
Did we ever see her again?
no, but
No.
I remember when the DVD box set came out, the first thing I did was put in Superman 3 and go right to that part just
Yep.
to see it again.
Yeah.
And it was still horrifying.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
a couple other examples is like the boat scene in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
You actually see a chicken's head get cut off and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then the other one is if you ever watched Return to Oz, where it's like the one queen, she has a room full of heads, and she like removes
Yeah.
one head, puts another head on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that movie was freaky too.
And the Wheelers were freaky
Wheelers,
too.
yes.
Yeah, the Wheelers were freaky too.
Yes, yeah,
Not to mention Dorothy Gale's like in an insane asylum. and all
yes.
that.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
well, that's why she grew up to be the girl from The Craft.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. They're connected. That's awesome. Before we take a look at Sebastian's stuff, Ryan, is there specific tiers that you recommend for people to check out?
Yeah, so we always have our combo pack, which gets you both covers. It gets you 5 mini prints. It gets you a bookmark, and it gets you a sticker sheet.
This one right here.
That's the $35, and yeah, and that one I always recommend. And then the two other ones I would recommend outside of like obviously that print I'm a big fan of, but the two other ones I would recommend is checking out the one that we have for $60, which is you get the combo pack, but you also get the original script that I sent to Joel for drawing. And what I do is you don't just get the script with me signing it, la-di-da. What I do is I actually go back in the script and put annotations along the margins about what I was trying to convey, where the inspiration for stuff came from. It's your whole behind the scenes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
The
And then if
director's
you...
cut.
Yeah, like DVD.
Yeah,
extras.
exactly. Director's cut. And we do have the director's cut script for issues 1 and 2 in the add-on if you were wanting that as well. And then we still have some spots available if you really like Joel's artwork. There's commission spots available as well, and he will draw any character you want. And I've seen the stuff he does for commissions; it is amazing. So
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, no, this looks great, dude. I really like it, and congrats on already hitting your goal.
yeah,
20 hours to go, but
Yes.
we can always use more help on these campaigns. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and it's one of those things too. Like I know you guys have all gone through this. Like it's a lot of stress and a lot of work, and I didn't set any type of stretch goals because I'm always like I just want to get to the goal. But one thing that I do for my backers is after everything's done, if we are well over our goal and I've calculated who's getting paid what and everything else, I then take whatever money's left over and we figure out something else to do for the backers.
Cool.
So there's every single dollar in this goes towards something for our backers, whether it's paying the artists. I get no money from this. Like I have put enough of my own money into it. I know you guys know what I'm talking about when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
But
And
I
they've
make
done
sure
that.
my artists, all my creative team is paid well. I make sure the printing is top quality, like all of that type of stuff. And I actually found a printer that it negotiates prices, so you get similar prices to like the big name companies.
Oh, cool.
And my comic book shop guy has actually like picked it up and he's like, this is better than like half the stuff on the table. So,
Wow. Okay.
Would you mind sharing which printer you're going with there?
Yeah, it's they're called ONS printing. So O
ONS.
as in Oscar, N as in Nancy, S as in Sam.
Okay.
And they're based off of Andy Schmidt. I don't know if you know him from.
Oh,
I've
yes.
heard the name. Well, I've heard the name.
He was like an
yes.
editor and stuff like that, but he also teaches like comic classes and everything else. I'm trying to remember Comics Experience. He teaches.
Comics
Oh yeah.
Experience, yep.
Okay.
So
I've heard of them.
So they created this printing company, and they do print overseas. So it does take a little while for it to come over here, but they work out all the negotiating of pricing and everything else for you.
Gotcha. So you don't have to get into like learning another language just to get a book printed, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. This book looks great. Also, if anybody's watching this tomorrow, the link for this campaign will be in the description of the video. But don't wait too long. There's only 20 hours left, so head right over there and help support Ryan. And we always say there's not enough all ages books in the world, so here is one that could use some help. So definitely check that one out. So this looks great, and I definitely. Is the video short, Ryan? Or
it's 1 minute. Yeah, it's 1 minute, and I put about 8 hours into making this 1 minute video. I'm very proud of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. Roll that footage.
Because I don't think I clicked.
Check out this editing.
All right, let me see.
That's the fun part about editing.
Yep.
Right?
Got like 50 hours of footage, and it's like, oh, this is all for 1 minute.
Yeah, right. All right, let's take a look at the video.
Let's do it.
That's great, dude.
Nice. That's a tight video, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, that came out awesome.
The headlines kind of remind me of Oreo cookies, like the.
Hey, all ages. So
Yeah, right.
There you go. There you go.
They'll get it. I have a certain urge for Oreo cookies right now. I don't know why.
Yeah, there was a like why it took so long is there was a lot of like little tweaking because it was like, okay, I got to move this like a millisecond this way. I got to do this a little bit that way. And,
it's well made. The music was good. In a minute is the perfect length.
Yeah.
You know, I think when they go to 3 minutes, sometimes it's like,
Oh,
like
I saw a guy one time
seconds.
had like a 25-minute video. I'm like, dude, no one's watching that.
Nobody's watching that.
It's a TV show.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, it's like watching a sitcom or something.
Right.
Unless it was well produced like a TV show.
Right. No, he was sitting there just talking about the comic.
So I've had my fair share of seeing videos, and it's like you gotta either hook them or you gotta be entertaining. If you're just sitting there like, for 5
With
minutes,
attention spans nowadays, it's I'd say 30 seconds should be your goal, but a minute is acceptable too. When you get to 2 minutes, it's a little,
Yeah, I figured I was trying to encompass the first 2 issues that we've done so far and lead into that third issue. So
it makes sense.
Yeah.
2 minutes, maybe if you know the characters already. You know what I mean? Like if you know the characters,
Yeah.
Let me poll the audience. Is it better to have yourself talking about the comic in the video, or just images of the comic with information?
I
on
like
the
the trailer. Like I feel like the people talking about their video is like old school Kickstarter. Like I feel like the movie trailer is now what people want to see, but I could be wrong.
And maybe there's over explanation when the person talks about it. You know what I mean? Like the video
hit us up in the chat. Like, tell us what you guys think. I would love to hear. I'd love
the video.
To see
want you to learn more about it, I guess.
Yeah. How about you, Sebastian? What do you think on that one?
It has to be a production for me. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if you're gonna. So I've gotten to work on a few people's Kickstarter videos, and I'm like, okay, I got to deal with with people with their personality, so I got to make you stick out. and listening and seeing a bunch of there are Kickstarters that I'm like, when I hear the person and it just falls off bland, I just like it's kind of taking me out of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So it was like you got to bring people in. So it's like you got it comes down to the music, the production, what you're doing for the images. Like when I did the Wayward Raven one, when we did everything, it was like it was a whole conversation. So it became a comedy skit, and there were things that I used in there as the beginning comedy skit of them talking about the anthology in a funny way, and then we cut right into the trainer with the music, going bam, 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 bam with the images. So it's just like like a rock star trailer.
But yeah, like you thought about it. You didn't just turn the camera and go, guys, I need this money because blah blah blah. You know? It wasn't like that. Like you put some thought into it, and like I've done both. Like the early days, I did a lot more talking. Like, hey, this is me and this is what I do, but I found that the quicker trailers are much better.
Yeah,
but it's like it's like the Russo said. We're in a time where content is consumed differently, so that's why you have to see when you're trying to get that audience. Like that's why a lot of people go to like Instagram Reels, TikTok is that short form of okay, I'm entertained, I like this. So if you can keep it with that short form of entertainment, and you just that's how
I think it's the future of it. And then I've seen some where they don't even do a video, it's just a slideshow, and I don't know if those do as well, but I'd be interested to see the analytics on that,
Well, and I've done like you were saying, Keith, was at the beginning, like my very first Kickstarter was more like me talking, and then the second time I kind of did just more of a voiceover, with visuals and everything else. And this time I was like, you know what, I'm just not even going to talk. I'm just going to put the words on there. I'm going to make it, like you said, more of like a trailer type thing. And I personally, I have no problem talking, obviously. But I felt like, and I feel like I have a good personality where I can engage with people. But
you definitely do.
Thanks. But I knew what I wanted, something that was going to really grab people and like have that trailer quality to it. So
and I could say, Ryan, your trailer grabs me because it's like it's the scenes you chose, the details you put in there in that 1 minute. Because again, knowing how it is to work on a trailer, and then the music you chose, it came off very epic.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's like, this is a very epic adventure. And that's what I like to see in trailers. It's like that. If it's funny, if it's epic, it has to be, and it shows that you put a lot of love into it.
Yeah.
And I feel like when people like they it's like you're not really putting love in this. If you don't like to speak on behalf of your stuff, figure out something else that does, and don't be afraid to ask people. But I loved your trailer. It was
people are going to care about it if you care about
my
it.
money.
Bottom line, that's the thing. If you care about it, people will care about it.
Yeah, Ryan, that 8 hours of editing really paid off.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. I've watched it myself like 20 times. I'm like, I'm usually not proud of anything I do because I always feel like I could do it better. That thing, I'm like, no, I'm proud of this.
I got a couple comments of people. They said, Tony said you have to do it with some flair, entertain, do an old timey voice if you can swing it. And my wife says
Tony's explicitly referring to his Star Noir video, and he did a good job with that one.
Styles with voiceovers. I think that's
we can hire Ric Flair to do it.
Yeah, Ric
Flair. little Flair.
Awesome. But then I also want to take a few minutes and take a look at Sebastian's website.
It's garbage.
Yeah, let's do it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
No. So Sebastian, like, clue us in to let us know a little bit about you, and what people like. Why should people go to the website? Things like that.
Well, the website lets you learn a little bit about me. I'm actually been in the indie scene since 2016 in the local New York scene. I've kind of wore a different hat and different things. Like I've been a showrunner for 3 cons, 2 of them virtual during the pandemic. I've done a little bit of UX design. I've designed a whole booth for a contact company for BeautyCon.
Cool.
But my love has always been with comics and illustration and animation. I actually have a degree in Full Sail University from 3D animation. But again, it still comes right back to comics and what can I do to just transport people to different worlds. Like I put a free preview of Concrete Combat, the first few pages on there on the site. and just different illustrations I've done over the years, and just had fun with it. My first comic, This Is How I Met Johnny, was called Dead Planet, which has actually been renamed. I'm redoing that whole book. It's just Concrete Combat has definitely taken up a lot of my time. But Alex is helping me co-write that. And we obviously we just took a little bit of break, but we have like the beginning and the end. That story's coming back, hopefully 2025. But yeah, the labor that I've been doing has been more of like working on my illustrations, just having fun with it. And like I said, Concrete Combat started as a poster idea, and then eventually it just spiraled out into its own. I've rewritten the story at least 3 times before I came out with the version that I liked. I give a shout out with Eric Hutch, because when I came out with the version that I liked, let him read it. He's like, I think you got something with this one right here. And so that's what the route I went.
When you say it was inspired by a poster, though, what, like, can you dive a little deeper into that, though?
Oh yeah, I was just doing a basketball poster, but I was like, I had a funny idea of it would be funny to draw this character like he's a basketball player, but he's just doing the Kamehameha like Goku. We'll just call it Concrete Combat. And I was just like, Eric goes, that'll be a dope comic. And I was like, that would be a dope comic.
Again, it's where inspiration comes from all of a sudden.
Sometimes that name, like, it'll just click with you.
So cool.
But the first 2 issues I put up there on my Patreon page. So 2 issues are out. Actually, I'm in the middle of coloring issue 3 and now penciling and inking issue 4. Because
this is a way people can support you and help you build the comic as you go.
Yeah, everything goes towards supporting the comic, goes towards supporting everything with out there with prints and all that. Once I'm done with this print run, I'm actually going to send to my supporters on Patreon a free copy of the book.
Oh, cool.
Just for their thank you and all that, because they've been great supporters.
And I can vouch, because I actually back Sebastian's Patreon, and I can vouch that he updates constantly. So I always see updates coming through. And he also does like special giveaways. Twice was I pulled as one of his Patreon backers, where he did sketches for me. He did one for The Pond and one for Surrounded by Death.
Those are fun.
So yeah, they were fun to do. So it's definitely like, back it, because you never know. Like, you might get pulled, and the next thing you know, Sebastian's doing fan art for you.
Yeah, and it's just and I do a lot of the behind the scenes drops too. So a lot of people who support the Patreon, they get to see the digital pencils I've done, because I do a lot of stuff in digital. They get to see like the inks before the colors get laid out. They get to see
like do you turn on a camera and just start drawing sometimes?
That's actually an idea in development actually right now for a live draw, but sometimes I would do like a live draw on Patreon.
I think people would love that. Like I know sometimes, like even me, like I'll be scrolling through Instagram, I'll see someone drawing and I'll stop on it for a little while.
I always stop when I see like
yeah,
uncensored material too.
What's that?
He'll provide uncensored material too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a fun little goblin character that's in one of my uncensored tiers. I will let her be unnamed, but so for a while with doing fan art prints, I was having fun doing a bunch of really fun Deadpool stuff. Like I did a sketch cover that I had drawn, and it was the original Sin comic from Marvel.
Okay.
And so I was just like, you know what? It would be funny to make fun of that pose that everyone was making fun of, that they had drawn Spider-Woman.
Oh, yeah.
In that pose, the infamous Spider. So I drew Deadpool in that pose in a thong with the Watcher behind him saying, "I've seen too much."
That's awesome.
I love that.
So I was using those ideas on him. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to put it on my little goblin girl. Let's just see what I can do. And sometimes I'll have her speak in the third party. And I've been creating more characters to kind of flesh out her world. But like I said, everything's been with this first run of Concrete Combat, because I really want to get the first 4 books done, because I'm going to put that in a whole graphic novel.
Into a trade.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. Like I've been finding like, I don't know if you have a trade yet, Ryan, of your stuff. Probably not, because you only have 2 issues. But I've been finding like I didn't have a trade for the longest time. And then I finally collected my first 3 issues of Mascots. And that was the one thing I noticed last year at conventions, was like the trades were selling really good. Like You know, I think some people prefer that format rather
that's
than
one of the
floppies.
that's one of the things I'm debating on right now. Even when we did 2 issues, I started pitching to uncensored, you say? I started pitching to like book publishers as a graphic novel instead of it being a comic.
Okay.
Because I know, especially for all ages, like that's kind of the preferred
That's a thing now, yeah.
Yeah. So, with now that we'll have the 3rd issue done, I'm kind of tempted to do like a collected edition. I have like the first 6 issues like mapped out completely. So,
that's good.
So if we don't do it with issue 3, we'll definitely do it with issue 6, which is like a nice story arc, the first story arc and everything else, and it ends with like a couple really good cliffhanger situations. But it'll I was like, okay, that will definitely combine into one trade for those first 6 issues.
Yeah, that's great. Great idea. Great plan too going forward. Both of you guys, I think graphic novel is the way to go, especially if you do a lot of conventions.
I got that from Sebastian Jones, because that was one of the things got the privilege asking him was like, what do you do with your comp? Because he's Kickstarters all the time and he's just banging it on Kickstarter. So it's like, had the chance, and he was like, I just focused on trade paperbacks. It's like he says I got away from the floppies. But the uncensored thing. So I divided 2 tiers. I kept one family friendly at $3 support, and then one at $5 for those who want the extra material. And then I have a $20 material, whereas everybody's like, if you want to support me and give me money, go right ahead. $20 helps.
Yeah, right. That's great.
But
that's awesome.
Just to circle back around and having a trade, and more specifically items available on your table, you always want to have something that's a high ticket item. Something in the $20, $30 range, because that'll get you to your table cost. But the other thing is that you don't want to disregard floppies. And the reason for it is that when you're looking at something transactional, say if somebody's got cash, you can't make change. They may be inclined to just buy a low priced item. So you want to have a full range of, things that you could sell anywhere from like $1 or like $2 or like $5 or $10 and $20 and above range. You want to have a full spectrum there. So that way people can pick and choose and do that kind of thing. Another pro tip, something I learned at C2E2.
Okay.
This convention season, if you use Square, and I'm sure
I was just going to mention that.
Payment profiles, enable tipping.
Yeah.
Enable tipping. They don't have to tip, but not everybody, like 99% of people tipped with their order.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So enable tipping on your Square readers.
The Square thing was in it of itself was like one of those things that sometimes, especially if you're just starting out, you don't even think about that, and you go to a show and you like at least half my orders, if not 2/3 of my orders, come from people using their credit card.
It used to be you never got a credit card, and now in the last 10 years it's been half my business. I would say.
Does the Square thing prompt you to tip? Does it ask you? Is there like a thing that says, "Oh, do you want to leave a tip"?
Before
that I don't know.
Coming for receipt, it offers a tip screen with different percentages or no tip.
Yeah, because I think some people might feel not obligated, but should I leave a tip? I don't know.
They've been conditioned from COVID.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think people are just like,
well, some people love to just support creators.
Yeah. I think the support's there because they're interested in the project and they want to support you as a creator.
And sometimes too, it's also a matter of like, I know with some people, I'm standing there talking with them for like a good 15-20 minutes sometimes, and they're asking me questions. So sometimes they're like, they not only feel like they should buy something because they've used up time, but like they want to give a little something extra because it's like
you took the time to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'll get that sometimes with just cash. Like the guy will be, something will be 15. He'll just hand me a 20. He's like, keep it, and just walk away.
Sometimes you can show a little skin,
I just try to
feel bad. Like I always just gonna throw them extra stuff when they do that. But.
I always try to have
give him a nipple or something. I don't know.
I always try to have a conversations piece. So I got someone commissioned to build a statue of one of the characters.
Look at that.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Dope.
That came out awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Lou Schaefer, Shadow Rabbit, who did this for me. Great guy. Big fan of comics and everything. And I just okay, conversation piece. Let's go. I wanted him to do
For sure.
down the line a book stand for the comic and just put it there. But I was just like, you know what, a nice statue for a character will be dope. And he's always an awesome, very humble guy to talk to.
That's great. My wife said I don't think they do, but does Square offer a chargeback protection? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean, I think that's like with
don't
credit
know.
card, anybody can like dispute you.
Sure.
Anybody could dispute it, yeah, for sure. They could say, "Oh, well, that's a fraudulent charge,"
I saw
but they
like
also
a
have
horror
to prove
story
it.
from I think it was Jesse Lundberg had like a chargeback happen or something from C2E2. And like, I don't know if he's fighting it or not. I saw him say something about it, I think on Facebook. We'll have to ask him this weekend, Johnny, when we see him in Haverhill.
Yep. Well,
I was like, yeah, what can you do? I mean, all you can, and usually I hate to say it because, I know retail, but usually the card companies always side with the customer, not the person selling something, so
sadly,
probably not a good situation, whatever he sold, hopefully it's not an original piece.
No.
But sorry to bring the show down.
No, you're good.
No, not at all.
That's always a good thing to talk about because people are never
indie
aware of
comics.
that.
That happens. This is all
Right.
part of it, right?
It helps
We all
prepare
run
people
it's
for
those,
that. Yeah.
It's like those shit bags, and pardon my French, but those shit bags that go and like bid like $800 on a Kickstarter to know that they're just tanking the campaign.
So,
you know what I mean?
so just to let you know, I do have one of those in my Kickstarter right now.
Oh no!
And
Did you know for sure?
I don't know for sure, but I will tell you what the situation is. They backed it for one of the high items. They added quite a few other items to it, and then they threw another cash amount on top of that. And I don't know this person, and none of my creative team knows this person, and we were just like, so I reached out to the person and thanked them, and just to try to feel it out, and they gave me a reason why they backed it at that, but it looked very formulaic, like they copy and pasted a form letter. So I'm preparing my Kickstarter in case their payment doesn't go through or in case they back out at the last second. So I did very well at Free Comic Book Day. Some of that money is going to potentially go into my Kickstarter to cover in case last second they back out.
Oh God!
So that we're okay.
That's the one thing I hate about Kickstarter.
I don't get why people do it either. It doesn't.
I don't
make
either.
any sense
It's
other
trolling.
than to mess with people.
It's just people messing around. But like that's why I like Indiegogo because you got to pay for it then and there. That's the only reason I like that over Kickstarter.
It's going to drive people to Indiegogo eventually. If that starts happening a lot, because no one wants to have to factor in a fail-safe for your Kickstarter campaign.
Right.
Like that's so dumb.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's people out there doing it, so like it's either all or nothing, or like you're going to pay or you're not going to pay. And that's
and hey, there's still a chance this guy is totally legit and it comes through, and I will happily send him everything he ordered. With bells on, I will be like, here is everything and the kitchen sink. But yeah,
if you're watching this
video,
that's
happening out there.
Ryan.
It's happening out there, so you want to be cognizant of it too.
Yeah.
No, it's good that you check that stuff because, because
now I will say, since we've started talking here, I've had 2 people back the Kickstarter.
Oh,
cool.
Have you really? Oh,
yeah.
Great! Thanks, audience.
Look at that.
Yeah, so thank you, whoever
thank
did
you guys.
that. I
We
appreciate it.
I just haven't done
honestly,
it.
this is like
just coming.
we have 100 people watching us now, which is crazy for us. Like
that's impressive.
Yeah,
I saw little notifications pop on my screen. I haven't looked to see who they were yet, but I saw 2 different notifications of backers.
Fantastic!
So,
that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, we always say we move the needle a tiny bit here.
Just a tiny bit, just a little bit.
So the fun thing for me doing these shows is obviously to get the word out, but the fun thing for me is especially I find shows that I then want to watch.
Right. Yeah.
Hey.
I always say one of the perks is that we have such wonderful guests and wonderful projects that they share that I end up, so you can see in the background those all Kickstarters that I haven't opened yet.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about this show too is like Ryan, because you're in Cleveland, the chances of us ever meeting would be like
Yeah.
zero pretty
Right.
much.
That's the thing. Like, I've done podcasts for 14 years. I have friends that I text every day who I never would have known had I not done the podcast.
It's
awesome.
the same.
Yeah.
It's the same.
And Sebastian, same. I don't think I would ever meet you, if Johnny didn't know you already from shows. I mean, I probably would have bumped into you maybe, but that's the one thing I love about this show. And then also like, we've gotten opportunities because of this show. I've gotten lettering work because of this show. So it's like, it's been great, all around.
Sebastian and I are actually cosmically linked.
Well,
so.
Yeah, we are. We are. I'll let you tell the story, Johnny.
Yeah. So I was actually on a work trip in Vegas, and when you're like in your work frame of mind, you don't think of things outside of that kind of circle. And as I'm walking in my peripheral, I see this familiarity that pops into my vision. And it just didn't click at first because, like, again, you're in your work frame of mind. You don't expect. I'm in Vegas for the first time. I'm partially trashed. So there's all these things I'm factoring in, and sure enough, Sebastian and I crossed paths in Vegas randomly, unexpectedly, unknowingly. Okay. And since then, I always say he's my cosmically linked brother because we had this,
That's awesome.
instance.
It was fun.
I
think I was trashed too that night too, Johnny. So don't worry. I was trashed in Vegas.
So
how are you not when you're in Vegas unless you're dry?
Maybe you guys didn't really see each other. You just thought you saw each other.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
maybe you guys
were complete strangers that night.
Created, like when he's, No,
it's because as long as I know Johnny, we met through the Creative Aftercon network, and it's always a great bunch of guys, that group. And it's funny too because I didn't know you were doing Great Philly, and I think that was like the second or third. That was the third show I did, and you were there. And again, just bumped into each other again and all that. And I was like, oh shit, hey, I know you. Like, what's up, Johnny? And then it just, I don't know. Every time we bump into you, it's just always a good time. And
yeah, for sure.
And so like what you say, Ryan and Keith, doing the podcast, especially during the pandemic, it was a great way to network. Yeah. Keep in contact with people, see how people are doing, get to meet a bunch of new people who to this day I just contact people through chat who have made great relationships with.
It opens your it opens, like, because if you just do conventions and you don't have an online presence, you're missing a whole half of what your career could be, the different creators that create opportunities for you too, down the road. So yeah, I love it.
And I just got another backer. So
did you really? Oh, that's awesome!
Fantastic the show. So
that's man, great. So good. Thank you, audience. We really appreciate you backing our guests here and checking out stuff. And then also check out Sebastian's Patreon and his website as well. Yeah. And check out Concrete. Was it Concrete?
Concrete Combat.
Combat. Yeah, that's right. Check out Concrete Combat and
with K's.
What's that?
Yeah. With K's.
With K's, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Concrete Combat.
I love that though. It's great. Mm-hmm. Gives it a little flavor, Yeah. Oh yeah, we're like an hour and 52 minutes. So I was gonna start kind of wrapping things up, I know the time flies, and I love it. Like we could just shoot the shit,
Gotta love it.
Best part about this show, So
yeah, absolutely.
As we start to wrap up, though, I usually go to the guests, and if you guys want to shout out like other things like social media handles or anything else that you'd like to promote and your podcast, whatever you want to do.
Any other traumatic TV shows that you?
I think we covered them all.
Ryan, I'll pass it to you first, Ryan. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. So I do the podcast called Star Joes, with stars in Star Wars, Joes is in G.I. Joe.
Love it.
It's all the 1980s properties we grew up and loved. The other thing I started doing, which you can find at our website of stealthhammer.com, is I've started doing presentations about comic creation. So I go to in the Ohio area, I will go to libraries and schools, and I talk to people about storytelling and how you create characters, how you create world building, and how comics themselves are created, how many different parts are involved and stuff like that. I just started doing that this year. It was a side thing that came out of doing this comic, and one of the fun things I do is at the end of it, I have them give me 3 superpowers, 3 personality traits, an origin of where those powers came from, and a superhero name. and then I go home and I spend 30 to 60 minutes writing a story. It's like writer's improv. I write a story based off their suggestions. I put it on the website, and people can circle back and read that story so that they from their suggestions. Cool. So
wow, yeah, that's a great idea. I like
just
that
one more thing before we go on. Why do you? Why, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Green Lantern myself, but why do you like him?
So I grew up with Super Friends, and
of course.
So when everybody was wanting to be Superman and Batman, I was like, I want to be the guy that can create anything with a ring. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then as I got older and started learning more about the character, I just became to love the mythos even more. It's like he can overcome fear. He's got strong willpower. Like it's all, and like I loved Top Gun growing up, and he's a fighter pilot.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, he's got all those qualities. Yeah,
and then you run into Jeff Johns' run on the character, and it's like the best run ever.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Jeff Johns, whatever he touched turned to gold.
Right.
That guy was awesome.
Yeah,
I liked him because the ring found him. He wasn't asking or looking to be a hero. He's a reluctant hero kind of thing.
Yeah.
The movie, though, come on, the movie was awful.
The movie's horrible. The movie is horrible. But yeah, I was a kid and still am with a big imagination. Like so, the idea that I could create anything just from what I could imagine, it was amazing. So.
There really is alignment between a psychological profile and your favorite comic book character.
Oh yeah. So one of the funny, so one of the cool things was
What's that say about me if Moon Knight's my favorite character?
I've got Frank Castle tattooed on my body.
Right.
Thank you very much.
So I actually did an in-depth review of Emerald Twilight. And in there, Hal Jordan he creates a construct of Coastal City, and he's talking to a character that he created, and I
remembered that. Yeah,
and I'm a psychology major, and I'm like, this is a deep psychological review because I was like, he's essentially talking to himself, and it was just, I was like, this story's deeper than people give it credit for.
I remember that. Yeah, that was his when he was turning into Parallax.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
If I had taken one more class in psychology, I could have minored in it.
Nice.
So it's like communications / psychology minor almost, but because I took a class one time and I never opened the textbook, the entire thing, and I'm like, and randomly one day during class, I'm like, you know what, everything kind of like every root fear is death or the unknown, because like if you think about it, you're not really afraid of like the dark. You're afraid of what's in the dark. You're not afraid of falling. You're afraid of gravity and splatting. You're not afraid of like spiders. You're afraid of them biting you or and you're getting like.
To circle back to TV shows, Seinfeld is known for saying that the number one fear in the U.S. is public speaking. The number two fear is death, which means that if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than the one giving the eulogy.
I gotta watch that finale, the Curb finale with the Seinfeld.
Yes.
I gotta watch that. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's great. How about you, Sebastian? Anything you wanted to shout out social media wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to shout out Nerds of the Round, obviously. We're going to be on tomorrow night talking Ninja Kamui. Last week we talked about Fallout. This week we're going to be talking about the anime on HBO Max, now known as Max, called Ninja Kamui, produced by, and it's on Adult Swim. It's very, very phenomenal anime that's pretty much giving me a lot of like throwback 90s anime vibe.
Okay, that's cool.
RadoCon, May 18th of 19th. I am actually... This is going to be the first time vending since 2019. So I will be returning back to the table in 2019, this month at CradoCon at the Cradle of Aviation Museum. So if you're in the Long Island or Tri-State New York area, come see me out there. You'll be able to get your hands on these copies.
Nice.
And just overall, no, I don't want to be locked in a crate of spiders. No.
Yeah, guys, if you're looking for another show to watch tomorrow night, find the Nerds of the Round YouTube channel. And subscribe, and you'll have another show where these guys just talk about all things geek happening in TV, movies, and comics, right?
And shit on Snyder.
And shit on Snyder. That's awesome. Johnny, you have anything you want to shout out?
Not particularly, other than I want to take this moment to thank Ryan and thank Sebastian for coming on the show. slicing a little time out of your day to share your projects with us. We greatly appreciate having you on. You know, we hope to have you back for the future too, for future projects, or even if you just want to come on and hang out with us.
Yeah, mix it up a little bit, you know. Yeah, definitely, I agree. And Harry, you usually have a tangent at this time of the show.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna create a bumper for Harry's tangents. And
funny that you said that, Johnny. Funny that you say that, because I have a bumper here ready to go.
Oh, yes! Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Anything weird? Because I have a weird sense of humor too. So, well, I mean, I think I've shared the story before, and like, Superman 3, Catherine Tate from Doctor Who was at.
Oh, that's fantastic!
Wow. Thank you.
Well done.
Sorry,
Beautiful.
I thought my video was good. That beats it.
Special thanks to Amy,
Thank you.
my wife, who created that.
You can tack on the V comment too.
Yeah.
I think Johnny C's
It's funny that
it.
both Doctor Who and Superman 3 came up tonight too.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I think Johnny's gonna lose. He's not gonna be able to breathe anymore. He's gonna need a doctor. He's got himself muted and everything. He's like, I can't. He's like, I can't anymore. He's done.
Oh, thank you. That was pretty sweet. This is awesome. But I don't know. I had a very busy weekend because it was like, you know, everything going on, you know, at once. It was like, you know, like Cinco de Mayo, Greek Easter. There was you know, what else was it? Like May the 4th. There's like a million, and plus it was good that we had that week off because I had to like catch up on projects too. So I did like another logo, another medical like thing, you know. So
Johnny's losing it, man.
Yeah. So
Harry kills me every time. Harry kills me every time. Harry, you're the best, man.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Like too many Harrys at once, like four like a Harry overload.
It's like a Harry overloaded.
Right. Like that lady in the machine in Superman 3.
Yeah. Exactly.
Man.
All right. So
wow.
I don't know if we could top that now, so I'm gonna probably just end things. I will say too, we'll be live every Monday right up until the week of Memorial Day. We have Memorial Day off, but we're live every Monday till then. So join us. We got 2 guests every time, I think. So we have a packed bunch of shows coming up. So
we have a show every week for the next several weeks.
Well, we got Memorial Day Monday.
Oh, okay. Monday.
Whatever is. I think we got 2 or 3 weeks coming before that. So
many more Harry tangents that we can look forward to.
I might have to have Amy make a couple different ones with Harry talking about different things, so we can just randomly throw them up.
Braille. You know, I have other ideas for clothing. So that Braille T-shirt, and you know, back in the day, you know, I had like an idea for a pelvis. You know, when girls wore their like jeans down to their pelvises. Yeah. But instead of like Levi's, calling pelvis, you know, and what else? It's like so many ideas. But
with that note, I'm going to end this. Yeah, everybody, thank you for watching.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for backing our guests and staying with us the entire 2 hours. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate every viewer that watches this show. And most importantly, read some comics, everybody, and we'll see you next Monday. So till then, everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Good night, everybody.
Hey, have a good night.
Later.